Hey guys, it's Pineapple here, and let's get back to it after a bit of an absence in these kind of videos. Shigaraki is having trouble in Dr. Garaki's basement, and the heroes think that everything is going their way, but we absolutely know better. In this video, we'll discuss what's likely to happen once Shigaraki wakes up by comparing him to another villain that we all got to know fairly recently, and that would be the villain from My Hero Academia, the movie 2 Heroes Rising, Nine. Nine definitely left some on the edge of their seats and provided us with a really powerful and intimidating opponent for the rest of the Class 1A heroes, but was he just a sign of things to come? Let's discuss how I believe Nine and Heroes Rising tells us everything we need to know about what's coming next and what it means for Shigaraki Tomura's future and the future of the series. I want to remind you guys you can follow me on Twitter at VocalPineapple, and I'm nearing 10k followers on there, which would be pretty awesome considering I still remember having 300 and talking to myself, so please help me get there if you'd like, and stick around for my waves of tweets about MHA and just about anything else. You can also hit that subscribe button to keep up with my content as I start to ramp things up, and you can hit that bell icon and click notify all in the drop down menu to get notified whenever I've got a new video so you never miss those early Thursday spoiler videos or fresh new theories. I've got some interesting stuff coming for subs and members alike, but instead of hyping you up and making you wait, I'm just gonna get started on it right after this video. So let's get to talking about Nine, Shigaraki, and how the two are far more connected than any of us would like to think after that intro. Hit it! The movie performed well in all the major markets that it was released in, and fans seemed to agree on one thing above all else. Nine was awesome. This villain and his team bring a lot to the table and offer a really interesting experience for a few hours while providing our cast with a massive challenge to overcome on their own. There are obvious comparisons that can be made between Nine and All For One. After all, we know that these two are part of a rare club of My Hero Academia characters that have the same quirk as another person also alive in this series. Despite their similarities, I want to discuss how I think the much better comparison would be between Nine and Shigaraki, because I think we can pick away some information that should let us know what to expect once Shigaraki wakes up from his pod nap. We know this movie uses ideas from what was supposed to be the end of the series. That was a major selling point and something that got a lot of fans really excited, because that implies that one, it's something extra epic and climactic, but also that it would be something a little different from your usual anime movie plot, since it's something that Horikoshi is providing the team with that he'd obviously put tons of thought into, surely being very meticulous about exactly how it would or could be executed. The fact that Horikoshi gave this outline for the original ending away so it could be used for a movie hopefully says something for his hopefully growing self-confidence, but that's neither here nor there. With this movie, Horikoshi gave us an invaluable look at what he originally had planned for the final pages of the My Hero Academia manga, and that could go beyond Bakugo and Deku sharing one for all in the finale. It could also stretch to the inception and execution of the film's villain, Nine. I've done a few videos explaining who Nine and his crew are, as well as what their quirks are and what they can do on this channel already, so check those out. But the short version of it is that Nine is a pale young man who leads a small but powerful villain group. We know from Horikoshi that he has a far more tragic backstory than what was covered in the movie, and at the very least we know thanks to the prequel manga chapters that he witnessed bloodshed as a child that left him orphaned, wandering for a purpose while society ignored him and forced him into becoming ultimately what he is today. Now, after explaining that, it really feels like the more I talk about Nine in his life, the easier it is to notice all of his various similarities to Shigaraki. After some doom and gloom, both of their tragic backstories lead the two to be subjects in Dr. Garaki's lab, where the doctor promises to give them the power to achieve their goals. Now, Nine is compatible with All For One's quirk factor, so he is given All For One the quirk. Shigaraki is also undergoing a transfer surgery, so it's likely that the doctor has further perfected this process and is doing the same to Shigaraki in his pod, and I have a fairly long video detailing a theory that Shigaraki is going to get All For One, so this ties pretty nicely into that idea, which I think at the very least pretty much has become all but likely at this point in the series, thanks to everything we know and statements from the Doctor. Now, like I just said, our understanding is that the plot of Heroes Rising uses outlines from Horikoshi that he was going to use for the finale of the manga. When looking at various interviews and commentaries made on the movie, I found that he offered them the idea when they came to him for the movie. From this, we can likely conclude that the outline for the ending of the series was what they started with when production on the movie began, with Horikoshi working with the team to create and flesh out characters to fit in place of the ones that would be doing those things in his original outlines had the story continued down that path, and this did end up being the way the series ended. This is all well and good, and the story we got did make for a great movie, but after all the dust settles and you're back home thinking of everything that happened and everything that we know about how this movie came to be, Doesn't it make you wonder what that original ending outline was like before it became the film that we all saw? After all, if the story of the movie was the original ending and none of the original characters that were in the movie were originally going to be in that ending, then like this video suggests, it might give you hints to what's coming if you know what existing characters should take place of the characters in the movie. So if you had to try to figure out what Horikoshi's basic outline for the movie was before all the new characters and changes were set in place, what would that outline be like? What happens in Heroes Rising when you really boil it down? The simple and short synopsis is that Nine, a young man with white hair, receives All for One from Dr. Kyudai Garaki and leads a mission with his core of villains to cure his one weakness so he can destroy the world and remake it in his preferred image. One where the strong rule over the weak. One where right and wrong are second to power and influence. He terrorizes a whole island with no pro heroes left to defend it, so a large group of heroes, namely Class 1A, stages a counterattack after briefly going into hiding, and ultimately Deku and Bakugo are left to take the villain on and put a stop to him before he can achieve ultimate power after the combined efforts of every other hero there falls short. Well, if this is roughly the outline that Horikoshi was using for the main manga's ending, then it's pretty easy to plug in the correct pieces when trying to use that outline to try and apply it to our current story as a way of seeing what Horikoshi might have been leading to or still is, and let me say it is scarily similar to some of the things that we've been seeing happening lately. In the latest arc, Shigaraki, a villain with white hair, is undergoing a process that the doctor tells him will put One for All within his grasp, even when his master All for One could never obtain it. It's implied that Shigaraki is receiving an enhanced version of All for One, and he should be unstoppable and all-powerful, unlike Nine, who can only use 9 quirks and has his cell decay which predates his quirk surgery. However, if the two are parallels of each other, then Shigaraki should have some sort of weakness, just like Nine does. So what could that be? Well, consider this. Shigaraki's 4-month-long process wasn't completed. The heroes broke Shigaraki's pod when it was at 75%, meaning it's likely that he will face some sort of consequence or repercussion from not completing the process of accepting and adapting to the power that the doctor was giving him. We learn in chapter 269 of the My Hero Academia manga that the pods are for stabilizing the subject's body due to the extreme stress that the doctor's quirk transferring procedure puts on the body. After a certain point, humans who undergo the surgery need to be put into suspended animation while their body undergoes a final settling process. Think of it how like you should always let your steaks set after you cook them so that all the juice won't come out when you cut it. This means that while being broken out of the pod probably won't keep Shigaraki from upgrading and receiving whatever quirks and abilities the doctor loaded into him, it probably will mean that things aren't exactly perfect inside Shigaraki's body. Thanks to the movie and the movie's tie-in prequel one-shots, we know that Nine has a cell decay sickness of some sort that limits how much force he can put into his quirk usage. We know from his own statements that what the doctor did to Nine made his cell decay worse, but I do think it's unlikely that the doctor would use an imperfect version of the process on Shigaraki, since when it seems like quite some time has gone by since Nine originally came to the doctor, and the doctor himself said that Nine was far too dangerous, and knowing the doctor, he likely tweaked Nine's cell decay to be something that remained and limited Nine in case he ever became a threat to All for One or Shigaraki's plans. While it is possible that the doctor's tampering is what causes Nine's cell decay to get worse and remain, that doesn't mean that Shigaraki won't face a similar issue. In fact, again, the point of this video is to say the opposite. Shigaraki already has decay as his quirk. What if he does get the power to absolutely master decay and even use and steal other quirks, however him getting pulled out of that pod early causes him to have a similar weakness to Nine? It would be pretty ironic if the guy with the decay quirk started suffering from cell decay himself. Yeah, it would be a great example of tragic irony, but it would also turn Shigaraki decaying himself by accident in the My Villain Academia arc into a nice bit of foreshadowing, since again, his body destroying itself without him being able to intervene or control it is exactly what he's trying to prevent in the first place, even if it's from a different source. Keep in mind that at the end of the day, Nine died by crumbling into dust in a field of flowers, and not only is Shigaraki associated with flowers since his sister's name is Hana, which can be translated into the word flower, but crumbling away into dust just feels like the right way for Shigaraki to go out when you consider how these stories tend to go, and you consider the fact that we've already seen him start to decay himself to the point where it looked like he might have started crumbling away. That arm and part of his face looked like they almost started to just kind of dissipate like all the things that he decays himself. Ultimately, Shigaraki is going to get taken down by Deku by the end of the series. Deku and him are so similar and they have so many parallels that I see Deku understanding Shigaraki not just because that'd be nice, but because Shigaraki is too far gone to to save, and Deku has to learn that there is a point where a person is impossible to save. Deku has to see just why he needs to properly change society and keep another Shigaraki from having their pain ignored until they become someone that can't be saved, because the very word hero is like a poison that they reject. Shigaraki isn't the kind of character that'll be redeemed and become good. He's also not the kind to get defeated and permanently placed in a prison. He is a product of a society that must change, and as a symptom and the product of that society, he can't exist for the world to truly improve and move on to a new age of peace, or for the society to change in any meaningful way, especially when he plans on throwing the world into chaos, taking it in the exact opposite direction, and he has the means to do just that. In closing, and to take a step back, if the movie really does provide us hints for what's coming next in the story, then what does it mean that current events are following Horikoshi's original ending seemingly pretty closely? Does it mean that the series is ending? I know that's a fear that a lot of people have, but honestly, that's a tough question to answer. Possibly, but not in the way that some of you want to fear that it's ending. It feels like something big is on the horizon, and one day soon we may wake up in a world where our characters have outgrown the need for the daily school life and the lessons that they can learn from the inside of a classroom. We've already seen Deku, Bakugo, and Todoroki working on their endeavor without any sort of POV of them going back to UA or attending classes until afterwards. So could this be Horikoshi preventing us for the end of My Hero Academia and the beginning of My Hero? It remains to be seen, but I certainly don't think this is the end of the story or the end of the story's parallels to the movie, and if it does mean that we're due for a face-off between Deku, Bakugo, the other heroes, and Shigaraki to close off this half of the story, then I'm certainly excited to see where it goes from there. As always, I could be completely wrong, and my need to tie everything to parallels and think about where they're going is misplaced, and I need to get help. But let me know what you think. Could Nine's role and eventual fate in My Hero Academia Heroes Rising be hinting at what's to come for the heroes as they come up against Shigaraki in the near future? And if so, what's more likely? Will the heroes win and put Shigaraki away, causing the end of the series or putting an end to this section? Or will the heroes ultimately lose to Shigaraki and be forced to abandon the things that they hold close, from their homes to their schools, and for some even their lives, for the sake of ultimately taking him down one day far away? Let me know and be excited for what I've got next, since I am finally planning on getting around to finishing my 5-part war arc theory, and that very much ties into this. I need to finally explain how I see the series evolving and where I see this war going, because we are getting pretty close to the things that I'm theorizing towards, so I'll be back with that soon. Please be patient, please wash your hands, please be safe, and come back here next time. This is Pineapple. I want to thank all the members, and I've got some special content for you guys coming real soon that you've been waiting for, so stick right there. I'm gonna get working on it, and I'll see you guys later. It's Pineapple.